of his growth. He is growing. And he has grown in powers of the thought powers. He has become highly filled with thought forces. Now, thought forces are symbolized by the word marut in Veda. According to Sri Aurobindo's psychological interpretation, thought forces are symbolized in the Veda by the word marut. Maruts, therefore, are the friends of Agastya. He has secured the friendship of Maruts, therefore he is filled with thought forces. In fact, all the great philosophers and scientists, they are driven basically by Maruts. They are called shining hosts of the divine. They ride on the horses. Their speed is great. Like thought forces, their thoughts are very fast. Now, thought force and Indra have a close connection, according to the Veda. This is also a discovery of the Veda, that thought Maruts and Indra have a great connection. There are many connections among gods, but Indra and Maruts have a greater connection because Indra is the power of illumined thought. So there are thoughts and then there are illumined thoughts. Illumined thoughts are the thoughts which are illumined by the light coming from above. That is, supermind is nothing but pure light, unobstructed light. And this light, when it begins to descend in a plane of mind, then it becomes illumined mind. And according to the discovery of the Veda, illumined mind or the Indra presides over that region. Not in the supermind, not in the level of thoughts, but in this intermediate stage which is called the illumined mind. And that is why Indra is also described as the Lord of Swaha. Not of Dyo. Dyo is also mind, is thought forces, but above the Dyo is Swaha. And beyond Swaha is Maha, that is supermind. So this realm of Indra is the realm of the illumined mind. Now, illumined mind and the mind have a great closer connection. Not as much as with the Vayu, for example. Vayu and Indra are distant from each other. But Maruts and Indra are close friends. Now, Agastya, because of the thought forces, is already friendly with Marut. Now, what happens is that these thought forces are driving Agastya to move forward on and on and on and on. Now, what is the end of thoughts? The highest speed of thought ultimately leads you where? It leads you to the supreme substance. As I told you last time, ontological argument, the highest thought ends in the concept of God and God as existing. This is the highest. Therefore, Agastya is now driven by this, and having seen, having conceived of God, he wants to seize God. He wants to experience God. And there he finds that Indra is obstructing him. This is the psychological moment. He wants to seize God, he wants to rush towards God, and he finds that Indra, illumined mind power, is obstructing. So he is complaining to Indra. He says, why do you obstruct me? This is the main substance of the dialogue. So I will read out to you now. So it begins with Indra saying, look, the God that you want to know is the following. This I have repeated also twice before here. Nanunam asti no shvaha Kastadveda yadadbhutam anyasya chittam abhisancharinyam utadhitam vinashyati. He says, you want to know God, I tell you what God is, because I am nearest to Him. So I know Him very well. It is not now, nor is it tomorrow. Who knows that which is supreme and wonderful? It has motion and action in the consciousness of another, but when it is approached by the thought, it vanishes. You don't know, you want to reach God by thought. But if you reach by thought, He will vanish. I want to tell you this, and you are constantly driving by thought. So Agastya complains and says, Kim na indra jagansasi bhrataraha marutastava tebihi kalpasva sadhuya manahasva samarane vadihi. He says, Indra, kim na jagansasi, why do you hurt me, why do you kill me? Bhrataraha marutastava, these thought forces are your brothers, and I am moving with them. Tebihi kalpasva sadhuya. Take their help, come with them, help them. Kalpasva, accomplish yourself with them. Manaha samarane vadihi. Don't kill me, don't kill us, don't kill them. Manaha samarane vadihi. This battle which is going on, don't destroy them. So Indra answers and says, Kim no bhrataraha Agastya sakha sannati manyase vidmahi te yatha manosmi abhyabhinna viditsasi aram krunvantu vedim samagnim indhatam puruha tatra amritasya chetaram yajjam te tanavavahe. He says, you call me as a brother. You are my friend. Why, O my brother Agastya, thou art my friend? Yet you set your thought beyond me. It will look as if Indra is jealous of Agastya, and that is why in mythological stories, Indra is supposed to be very jealous of anybody who strives to go up. This is only fictional mythology. Indra is not jealous of anybody. He is a great helper, but he is a guide. He wants to tell you what exactly is the right method of approach of the divine. So he says, you say you are my friend, but you set your mind beyond me. Well do I know how to us thou willest not to give thy mind. I know that you don't want to concentrate on me. You want to go straight there, which you can never reach. You will be able to reach if you go through me. I am the right path. So he says, if you really want my help, I am now telling you what is to be done. I don't want to obstruct you. He says, let them make ready the altar. Let them set Agni in blaze in front. Say, you take the help of Agni. Maruts, of course, are your friends, but take help of Agni, because it is there. It is Agni, the awakening of the consciousness of immortality. Agni has the secret of immortality, the highest consciousness. It is that which can go from here to there. If there is one power which can go from here to there, is Agni. Therefore, you take Agni with you. Let us to extend for thee thy effective sacrifice. That is to say, both Agni and myself, Indra and myself, we shall now extend all the help to you, and you can go forward. Then, having heard this from Indra, then Agastya now says, O Lord of substance, Tvam Ishishe Vasupate Vasunam, Tvam Mitranam Mitrapate Sheshta, Geshta, Indra Tvam Marudbihi, Sam Vadasva Agha Prashana Ritudha Havimshi. O Lord of substance, over all substances of being, thou art the master in force. O Lord of love, over the powers of love, thou art the strongest to hold in status. Do thou, O Indra, agree with the Maruts, then enjoy the offerings in the ordered method of the truth with him. Ritutha Havinshi. All the offerings should be given Ritutha, in the method of right order of things. Now this is the dialogue. And Sri Aurobindo has written an illuminating commentary on it, in which what he wants to show is that Indra is there to help you, and the purpose of manifestation is not to ask you to go as soon as possible to the highest. You have to grow, you have to enrich, you have to share, you have to expand. And then when you have done this kind of sacrifice, by expansion, by giving, then you are entitled, you become authorized to go upward. And then Indra and Agni both will come together to take you upwards. Patience is one of the most important elements in the Vedic yoga. But right type of patience, not idle, but patience of a very special kind. Ritutha, it should be right ordered. Sri Aurobindo says there are 4 aids in yoga. First, the knowledge of the process of yoga. Second, the teacher. The third is your enthusiasm. And fourth is time. Time is a very important aid in yoga. People do not have the science of time. And the Veda is actually also a science of time. What is the right moment? What is the right rhythm? What is the right kala, muhurta? That's why in India, muhurta has acquired a very great importance. You should have the right muhurta for doing things. That's why even in Jyotish, for example, many people refer to muhurta when we should start a work, when we should end the work, and so on. It's a science of time. Science of time basically is nothing but this. Whenever something is to be developed, you develop it as quickly as possible, but as perfectly as possible. If you combine these two things together, you'll get the right rhythm. As quickly as possible, but as perfectly as possible. This is called the patience. When you want to do something, very often we just do something as quickly as possible. I want to come into this room quickly. I've got to take out my shoes. I just fling one shoe one way, fling another shoe another way, and come up into the room because I want to come as soon as possible. Now, as quickly as possible you have done, but not as perfectly as possible, because you have not put your shoes in the right manner, you have not taken them out the right manner, you have not put them rightly. Therefore, you have lost the muhurta. The real muhurta comes when you have done a given thing in the right as perfectly as possible, as quickly also, as quickly as possible, and at the same time as perfectly as possible. When the two things are combined together, then that is the right rhythm, ritutha. It is right order of things, and then you come and take your place. So the question was, what is the Vedic way of life? The Vedic way of life is to consider what are the powers in your being that want to grow. Veda is a process of knowledge. It's not a process of doing mechanically under the order of something. Veda demands that you should do things consciously, with knowledge, not under dogma, not under authority, with knowledge. That is a Vedic way of life. Don't do something because you are told to do something.